and salutations. My name is Mrs. Turquoise LeJeune Parker, and I'm really happy to be here to talk a little bit about why I believe that books should be windows and mirrors, bridges, and I'm going to share some things with you today that hopefully will inspire you, that will help you think about the way you've thought about things, it will help you unlearn a few things, will help you just totally help you. And I'm looking forward to communicating with you and connecting with some of you who see this afterwards. And at the end, I will share a little bit more about how you can connect with me after this. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So every time that I talk, most times I always say that literacy is liberation. And that is the topic from which I'm going to share today. Literacy is liberation is one of my mantras in life that I have been saying for probably about the past 2 or 3 years. I believe that through literacy, we can break a lot of chains. We can dismantle a lot of things that have been built up that are deeply rooted. And I believe that it is going to be the thing that really just transforms our world inside out. And so I am very happy to be a teacher. I am a media coordinator. That is my official title. My self-given title is racial and social justice teacher. I am a I am the media coordinator at Lakewood Elementary School. I'm also very active with my union. I am the vice president of the Durham Association of Educators, and I am the North Carolina Association of Educators director for the NEA, the National Education Association. I am very, very new to that. I just won the election in April. Don't start yet, but I'm very excited about another opportunity to redistribute power to our folks and to defend and transform our schools, our communities, and just really work hard. So let's jump right into it. I always like to talk about myself at the beginning so that it's important. I think it's important to know who you're talking to. I am a very, very proud graduate of the greatest historically Black college and university in all of the land, the very prestigious North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. I had the esteemed pleasure of being in the Marching Sound Machine marching band while I was there. I was a dance and flag girl, and I had a chance to be a part of the band sorority and a part of lots of the leadership teams within the structure of the band. And it was life changing. Life changing. I thoroughly enjoyed my HBCU experience, and I graduated in 2010, and then I began teaching in 2011. One of the things that I have always believed is in the power of the people. And I always love to share this story because if you try to Google anything I've said or anything I will say, and you type in Turquoise Parker in Google, most times a picture or two will come up. And I like to talk about that because I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, she didn't even tell us that was happening. So in 2016, a couple of us, just a couple hundred of us, well, it was really like 97-ish of us, we decided to walk from Durham to Raleigh, and that was a 23-mile trek. Once we had made up in our minds that we're going to take this trip, we made an appointment with the governor, and the governor decided not to keep his appointment with us. And so we decided that we were going to knock on his doors, see if he was there, give him a chance to talk, maybe, whatever might have been happening, but let's try and make this thing happen. And the governor didn't answer. And so we stood in the middle of the street and we locked arms and we said we would rather be teaching. We would rather be spending time with our families, but we'd rather be doing this. But right now, we need to stand here and we need to make a stand and make sure that everybody always remembers that all power is always with the people. And then we kept standing there. And this was not something that we didn't think through. we thought very thoroughly about this. We thought this was going to be something that would be able to get another win for us. And you can see lots of people on the side who believe what we believe. And we sat down in the middle of the street, and then we were arrested for civil disobedience. This also is my husband. My husband and I celebrated our 3-year wedding anniversary on this day. And it was one of the most amazing days and one of the most scary moments that we've experienced, because we're both Black in America. And Sandra Bland had been killed by this point by police, and it was a very scary thing. But we also knew that we wanted to defend and transform this school, our schools, our communities, public education all over. And so that was the thing we do. We believe strongly in Assata Shakur's quote that it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other. We must support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. So I always like to talk about this story, because if I don't share this story, I don't want anyone to think I'm trying to be dishonest or I'm trying to keep something. It's not a secret. It's actually something I'm really proud of, because we won lots of things because of this action. Not just because of this action, but because of this action. And it's one of my prouder moments. And I also look so cute in my mugshot. Those eyebrows, those box braids, like, yes, queen. So let's jump right in. One of the things that we do in the union is we are always talking about acknowledging that we meet on traditional lands served by the Catawba people. We honor America's first people and all elders, past, present, and emerging, and we call on to learn and share what we learned about tribal history, culture, and contributions that have been suppressed in telling the story of America. We feel it's very important for us to always start with this, because we cannot think or talk about anything else until we acknowledge that we're sitting on traditional lands. And for some folks, we say that we're sitting on stolen land, and it's important that we acknowledge, celebrate, honor the past and present. So that's one of the first things we do. Always want to make sure that we honor the Black lives who have been stolen, who've been murdered by police, and we want to lift up their names, and we don't ever want to forget to say their names. And we do believe that Black lives indeed matter. We are sitting in the moment of a pandemic. This is something that none of us saw coming, continuously saying that, but it's so true. None of us saw this coming, and none of us would be able to be where we are if not for our essential workers. We're talking about our folks who are driving trucks all across the country so that we can keep our shelves stocked, so that we can keep our home stocked, so that our lawns can still be cut, so that we can still have food, so that our hospitals are okay and staffed. And we want to appreciate our workers. We know that this disease, this pandemic, is substantially impacting Black and brown folks. And we know that most of the essential workers who are doing the jobs that we cannot live without are also not even being paid $15 an hour. And so we want to believe in this quote by Fannie Lou Hamer that nobody's free until everybody is free. And I want to go back just because I believe that it's important to cite properly. And I love these images that I found on Instagram, and I've put the artist Instagram page here. Incredibly amazing work. But one of the things that we talk about when we talk about literacy is that extraordinary humans being, doing, thinking, loving extraordinarily amazing things. Extraordinary humans doing extraordinarily amazing things. Extraordinary humans being extraordinarily amazing humans. Extraordinary humans doing and thinking extraordinary things. Black lives, Black dreams, Black past, present, future. Black joy matters. And every kid needs to see that in order to apply that. And when we say that, we're talking about in books. Sometimes we think that books should only be about a slave or a child during the civil rights movement, or it should be about something really depressing and hard. But seeing a Black princess be a Black princess, seeing a Black family just loving going to the grocery store together, taking a little trip, taking a vacation, seeing Blackness be extraordinary in all the ways. I used to say seeing Blackness and normalizing Blackness, but I don't think there's anything normal. So that's why I've used the word extraordinary, because I want every human to see that Blackness is extraordinary, and that extraordinary, those extraordinary things and ways of being and doing and thinking and loving should be regarded as such. So seeing Black folks doing regular things that we would consider regular, even though in a pandemic, what is regular, right? Seeing things being done regularly. In some books, in some ways, we think that we have to have Black kids and brown kids doing like basketball, only playing basketball, and books about sports, football. Like that's the only thing that you can see, but that's not true. We can have Black folks in books who are, in this example here, the first woman of color elected to lead Los Angeles's largest teachers union. A book about that, incredibly amazing. It's an incredibly amazing story that our kids deserve to see, that you can do this too. This picture on the right, on my right, is a picture of the drum line from North Carolina Central University. Kids can do anything, and we want every kid to see that. Sometimes we think that only Black and brown kids need to see themselves in literature and in things, period. But really, it's a matter of Black and brown kids seeing Black and brown kids, white kids seeing Black and brown kids doing these extraordinary things. Because what about this seems normal? And what about this are we saying is explicitly for? No, we need everybody to apply that. And the way that we get people to actually apply those things is to see it, and to see it in their everyday life. One of the things that I talk about a lot is that we deserve to see ourselves liberated, rethinking, organizing, filled with joy, growing through the hard things, living in love, and sharing all those things with other people. One of the things that we talk about in our Black Lives Matter statement that our union made last month was that our children should not just be in awe of historic lessons. They should be in awe, and they should feel the need to, how do I put this out into the world? How do I make this something that every human has access to, and every human can see that this is just a way of life? How do we do that? And so one of those ways is by sharing that every human deserves, and every child deserves that. As a kid, I would have loved to see like more books about people who look like me. I would have loved for my white counterparts to see a book of with me in it, where I'm not depressed, where I'm not enslaved, where I'm not subservient, where I am actually like powerful and I'm leading something, or I'm going swimming, or I'm just playing in the front yard with my brothers, with my siblings, with my neighbors, or my family has a tradition of taking a walk in our neighborhood every day. Let's normalize extraordinarious. I'm making up a new word, but it's important for us to make it seamless. Nothing that needs to be something that is depressing. This is who we are. Now, this image is something that I love to share because this brings everything into a strong reality. And this is something that can be found. I've listed the link here so that it can be found a little bit later. But if you visit this website and you read a whole lot of it, I mean, you can really fall down a rabbit hole looking at this data. It's disappointing. It's distracting. it's hurtful, it's sad, it's unacceptable. And this is 2018. We're in 2020. We have to do better. Just look at this data. I encourage folks to really look at this. It's terrible. 1,558 books. I mean, that's the percentage of animals and then every other percentage is unacceptable, and we have to do something about it because kids need to see this. Adults need to see that representation matters. True representation matters. One of the ways that we also do this is the way in which we do life. The way in which we do life is to be seen in our books, is to be seen in our literature. And it's not just to lean on literature as the only way that we defend and transform our world, in the way that we dismantle and decenter whiteness. It's not just in literature, it's also in the way that we do life. What kind of books are we reading? Are we doing that thing that humans love to do, where we tell someone what their lived experience is? No, we empower folks to tell their own story. So when we talk about books, are these books being written by authors of color? One of the things I do in my classroom every day, is one of my favorites, and it's one of the professor's favorites, Mrs. Parker's professor's favorite, is we look at a different author of color every week, and it is incredibly amazing. The kids love it. And it's also something that is intentional. Representation matters. As I said, humans, we love to tell people what their lived experience is, and you can't do that. We will not allow that. We will reject that. We're going to embrace books that are about people of color, written by people of color. And we're not going to tell people, again, what their lived experience is. Let's empower them to share their story. Let's look at the ways in which we do life with our money. Are we supporting as many Black owned businesses as we can, and as many Black and brown owned businesses as we can? Who are the people that we're connecting with? Who are the people we're communicating with? These things right here are so powerful. Our devices are so powerful, but who are we talking to all of the time? Who are we listening to? Who are we putting ourselves around? Are we being very intentional? Are we just putting black and brown doll babies, black and brown uh, books in the white children who we are around faces, or are we actually doing life intentionally and genuinely, or is it just something that we're forcing? The people that we spend time around, this is just as huge as all of the other ones. The people that we're spending time around, are those people doing their best to be as anti-racist as possible? If not, we got to move away. Now, does that mean that we stop being around them altogether? No, but you have to remember that you have to remember that if you're so engaged in being anti-racist and you're around someone who's not, I think you can finish the rest of that. And then the stuff that we are collecting, are we being as intentional as we can with what's surrounding us? What are we seeing? Because everything that we are around and that we have and that we touch, it's impacting us whether we know it or not. And it's very important that we not forget that. Decolonize your shelves is one of the things that I have been saying for a couple of years now. Is we have got to decolonize our shelves. In our lives, we give so much space to whiteness and we don't even know it. Decolonizing is an arduous process. It's incredibly difficult, but it's not a destination, it's a journey. We have to remember that we are all institutionalized and we are all deeply rooted in white supremacy in ways we don't even know. And so it's going to take us a while to look at our shelves and look through our shelves. If folks are anything like me, I have too many books. I don't think there's such a thing, but somebody might differ, might beg to disagree. But if you're like somebody like me, it takes a long time to decolonize shells, because you have to go through the story and really realize if this is something that actually should be having the attention of humans. And especially if we call ourselves working to be anti-racist, we got to decolonize our shelves. We got to make, and decolonizing shelves is not just about books. Decolonizing shelves is also looking in your kitchen cabinet. Are you shopping as Black and brown owned as you can? Decolonizing our shelves is an arduous process. Again, it's not something that we're going to be finished with like that. It's going to take some time, and nobody has the secret to how long it takes or the best way to do it, because it's something that takes time and it's something that's personal. We want to make sure that this is as deeply rooted in impact, as deeply rooted in as deeply rooted as white supremacy is. We want to make sure that this is intentional and that we cut it off at the root, and we do our best to do that. And then that concept of equity is so popular right now, but I'm a firm believer in say what you mean and mean what you say. When people say equity, what are you talking about? You're talking. Equity is talk. Justice is action. Equity is talk, and justice is action. Never forget that justice is what love looks like in public. It's so true. Equity is all that we all want to focus on, and we read, but that goes back to the thought about life. We can't just lean on books. We have to do both. Two multiple things can be true, right? We can look at these things and we can talk about these things, but we've got to make sure that we put it into action. We don't want to be so caught up in having all of the things inside of our mind that we don't even talk to people and treat people the right way. One of the things that I am always frustrated with is I see people in my neighborhood who have recently put up Black Lives Matter signs. And when I go by their house, I go, hi, and they look at me dead in my face like they don't know that I'm a human and that I'm speaking. And that's unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. And if we are to truly be about racial and social justice, then we will remember that equity is talk and justice is action. You can have that Black Lives Matter sign up all you want, but if you're not actually talking, if you're not actually treating people right, and if you're not actually like functioning in a way that shows that you're really trying to grow and be anti-racist, then you're really not even about that. Now, I've said a lot, and I also want to not take up all of your time, but I will offer my information to stay connected. And please reach out to me if there's any questions you have about anything I've said. And I appreciate this opportunity. I want to thank Book Harvest for all of the work that they do. Thank you all so much for being so intentional and being such a beautiful part of our community, a beautiful part of our Durham. I'm grateful to be and live in this city, and I'm grateful that you all reached out and offered me this opportunity. And again, if there's anything that I've said that strikes something in you and you want to keep talking about it, please reach out. I'm very happy to discuss and to stay connected. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and have a wonderful night.